The mule was worth more than the ranch. Everyone in the San Pedro Valley knew that much. Jasper was gray-backed, iron-legged, and smart enough to shame a horse. He could haul timber out of draws where wagons snapped axles, find water when the ground looked dead, and follow a trail so faint even Apache sometimes missed it. Ethan Cole had raised him from a foal, talked to him like a partner, and trusted him with his life. So when Ethan Cole gave Jasper away, people would talk about it for years. But that morning, Ethan didn't know he was about to lose the mule. He only knew the air felt wrong. The sun had barely lifted above the eastern ridges when Ethan stepped out of his cabin with a tin cup of coffee. The river whispered low, cottonwoods rustled, and somewhere far off a hawk cried. Peaceful sounds, but Ethan had lived long enough to know peace could lie. Jasper stood at the rail fence, ears pricked, staring toward the mesquite flats. "What is it, old boy?" Ethan muttered. That's when he saw movement, quick, low, desperate. Two figures burst from the brush like deer flushed by hounds. Women. Young. Running hard. Ethan set his cup down slowly. They froze when they saw him. One of them raised a knife, small but steady. The other leaned on her, breathing like her lungs were tearing. They were Apache. Ethan felt the familiar tightening in his chest. Not fear, something heavier. He'd traded with Apache bands before, shared water with scouts, and buried neighbors killed in raids. The border between peace and blood was thin and shifting out here. "I'm not armed," Ethan said, holding his hands away from his body. "Name's Ethan Cole. This is my land." The taller woman studied him with eyes sharp as broken glass. Her hair was braided tight, dust streaked across her face, but she stood straight. "I am Nita," she said. "This is my sister, Rosa." Rosa tried to stand without help and nearly fell. Ethan stepped forward instinctively, then stopped himself. "She's hurt." "Twisted ankle," Nita said. "We must keep moving." "You won't make it far like that," Ethan said. Nita didn't argue. She just looked past him, toward the open land. "Someone's chasing you," Ethan said. Silence answered him. Silence was answer enough. He glanced back toward the hills. If soldiers were involved, he wanted no part of it. If bounty hunters were involved, that was worse. Apache women running usually meant men with guns not far behind. "You can rest here," Ethan said. "Water. Shade. No one comes by this early." Nita hesitated. Her grip tightened on Rosa's arm. Finally, she nodded once. They followed him inside the fence. Ethan cleaned Rosa's ankle with cool river water. It was swollen and angry, but not broken. "You ran a long way," he said. "Since before dawn," Rosa whispered. Ethan handed her bread and dried venison. She ate slowly, tears streaking down dust-caked cheeks. Nita watched everything Ethan did, his hands, his eyes, the way he moved. She trusted nothing without measuring it first. "Why are you running?" Ethan asked quietly. Nita's jaw hardened. "Men from the south. Traitors. They wanted to sell us." Ethan's stomach turned. He had heard those stories. He'd even suspected men he once shook hands with. "You escaped," he said. "Yes. But they will follow." Ethan looked at the sun. It was climbing faster than he liked. "Where are you headed?" he asked. "The Black Rocks," Nita said. "Our people camped there last moon." Ethan knew the place, jagged volcanic stone, hidden springs, trails that vanished into nothing. If they reached it, they could disappear. "If you walk," Ethan said slowly, "you won't reach it by sunset." Nita looked at Rosa's ankle. Then she looked at the corral. At Jasper. "The mule," she said softly. Ethan felt his chest tighten. That mule keeps my ranch alive, he said. Without him, I don't haul water, don't haul wood. Winter comes, I'm done. I would not ask, Nita said, voice barely above a whisper, if my sister's life did not depend on it. Ethan stared at Jasper. The mule chewed lazily, unaware he stood at the center of a man's soul. How long would you need him? Ethan asked. To the rocks, Nita said. After that, we will not be found. Ethan thought of hunger. Of debt. Of loneliness stretching long and quiet through winter nights. Then he thought of Rosa collapsing in the dust. All right, he said. Nita's eyes widened. I'll give you Jasper, Ethan said. Not lend. Give. You don't know what you're doing, Nita said. I know exactly what I'm doing, Ethan replied. And I know what kind of man I don't want to be. He loaded water, food, and a blanket onto the mule. Rosa climbed on with a wince, clutching the saddle horn. Ethan showed Nita the trail. Stay high. Avoid the river after midday. If you hear gunfire, don't turn. Nita stepped close. My father is Red Hawk, she said. He will come looking for us. Ethan nodded once. He had heard the name. Tell him I hope you made it, Ethan said. They rode off into the rising heat. Jasper never looked back. The sound of hooves reached Ethan near noon. 5 riders appeared along the riverbank, hard men, sunburned and armed. Ethan felt his jaw tighten. Morning, one of them called. You seen 2 Indian girls come through? Ethan leaned on his fence rail. Can't say I have. The man squinted. We're tracking stolen property. Ethan's eyes hardened. Then you're on the wrong land. Another rider shifted, hand brushing his gun. We'll search anyway, the first man said. Ethan straightened. You'll leave. Now. The silence stretched thin. Then a shot cracked. A bullet tore through the fence rail inches from Ethan's hand. He dove, rolled, came up firing. The fight was fast and ugly. One man screamed. Another fell from his saddle. The rest pulled back, cursing. You just made an enemy, the leader shouted. Ethan stood alone in the dust, heart pounding, knowing full well what he'd done. He also knew something else. Jasper was already far away. By late afternoon, storm clouds gathered over the black rocks. Nita urged Jasper on, Rosa clinging tight. Behind them, far in the distance, dust rose. They're still coming, Rosa whispered. Nita's jaw set. Not for long. As the sun dipped low, riders appeared on the ridge ahead. Apache riders. At their center rode a tall man with iron-gray hair and eyes like fire. Red Hawk. Nita slid from the mule and ran to him. Rosa followed, tears streaming. Red Hawk listened without interruption as Nita spoke. When she finished, he turned his gaze toward the valley. Where is the man? He asked. Back by the river, Nita said. He gave us his mule. Red Hawk's expression changed, not to anger, but something deeper. He chose honor, Red Hawk said. That debt will be paid. Ethan was binding his arm when the Apache arrived. He stepped out of his cabin to see over 200 warriors spread across the land, silent as stone. At their head rode Red Hawk. Ethan raised his hands. I won't fight you. Red Hawk dismounted and walked forward alone. You gave your mule, Red Hawk said. Yes. You faced guns for my daughters. Yes. Red Hawk studied him for a long moment. Then he extended his hand. From this day, he said, no Apache will raise a weapon against you or your land. He gestured, and a young warrior led Jasper forward. The mule walked straight to Ethan. You keep your mule, Red Hawk said. We keep our daughters. That is balance. Tears burned Ethan's eyes. As the sun set behind the rocks, the Apache riders turned away, fading into the land like a memory. Ethan stood beside Jasper, the valley quiet once more. But it would never be the same. And that was a good thing.